Here's the deal with Royce's hot sauce. My dad lived to be 95 years old. Passed away 2 years ago. Grew up in Eagle Pass, Texas. Spoke Spanish before English. His name was Roy. He was 6'5". I have no idea what happened. But they called me Royito all my life. Little Roy. If you go to my hometown in Brownwood, I'm still Royito. He taught me three things. Be kind to everybody you meet, because everybody's fighting some kind of battle. Simplify your life. I screwed that up so bad. We'll talk about that, but I did. And don't do mild in anything. So the purpose on my jar is to encourage the young and the young at heart to don't do mild in life. Follow your dreams, follow your passion, follow your purpose. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, because the miracle of this country is entrepreneurship. And your founders are entrepreneurs, and we got to make sure we rebirth that whole energy, and you're part of this movement. And we need to not occupy anything. We need to get preoccupied with getting the young and young at heart to go start businesses again. I'll a little bit more about that. I love what your founder said, by the way, about I hope I don't have a Rick Perry moment here. But I had to remember 10 things. He only had to remember 3. Come on. 3? I want to cut the Secretary of State and cut the Senator, whatever. I love him. I love you, Rick. Don't ever change. And don't win, and don't get elected. But it's okay. I'm not afraid of shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not. If he wants to retaliate, it's go. Come on. They know where I live. I know where he lives. All right. Love you. But so when your founders talked about the 10 things they know to be true, that's pretty bold when you're 8 years old to say that you know the 10 things that you know to be true. But I went through them all. Number 1, if you serve the user, everything else will follow. Sam Walton taught me. Sam loved me because his dog food was named Old Roy. And it's true, thank you. Sam Walton used to say it this way: give the customer what they want, not what you want them to want, and they'll be the path to your door. At GSNM, this is the way we say it. We'll do whatever it takes to build our clients' business, because when we build their business, they'll build ours. What you know to be the truth, and it's number 1 on that list, is that you focus on the user, and everything else will follow. Secondly, they say it's really, really, really better to focus on one thing and be really, really, really good at it. I don't know if you've read Jim Collins' book, but he talks about the difference between, I'm built to last, hedgehog and a fox. Hedgehog, you just stay focused and you go do it. And us foxes, I'm not talking about the way I look, but this foxes, we just go running around and shit, doing stuff. Except Collins actually said I was a hedgehog, because all the running around I do, it doesn't seem like it makes any sense, Jerry, but I found out a long time ago my purpose is to help others fulfill theirs. So it's running Clinton for president, or working at the State Department, or doing BMW. I run around trying to help people fulfill their purpose. I do have ADD, and I bought a T-shirt in Aspen 2 weeks ago, and it says, I don't have ADD. Oh, is that a bunny running? You know what I'm talking about? I got it. So focus on the user. Do one thing really, really, really good. I love this one. Fast is better than slow. Now think about what a truth. Fast is better than slow. At University of Texas, we used to say winning is better than losing. I have to explain it to the Aggies, but it's a long road to go down that road to figure that out. But it is. Fast is better than slow. And then I love the idea that you don't have to be at your desk to need an answer. That's a brilliant truth. In fact, I wear a pedometer. I do at least 12,000 steps a day. It's my curiosity meter. Literally. I know that y'all have a lot of stuff to do, and you got to be. But if you don't do 10,000 or 12,000 steps a day, you're not out there enough. And so every day, this is weird. And again, nobody knows this, but you will. You're my friends, and won't tell anybody. You just run Google. But anyway, I send an email to myself every morning at 4 in the morning, and it says, "I wonder what the world has in store for me today. I think I'll go find out." I wonder what the world has in store for me today. I think I'll go find out. You don't have to be at your desk to need an answer. I love the idea, another truth, the fifth, that democracy works on the web. And working at the State Department the last couple of years and seeing what has happened around the world, democracy works on the web. And before Al Gore and I invented it, there was a way to keep things secret. And there's not a way anymore. And democracy, my mom taught civics for 35 years, taught me too, in a little small town. I did really well on her tests since I graded them when I was 7 and 8, 9, and 10. And she told me two things: don't call me mom in class, and don't sell the test to your friends. So I did both. Anyway, I'm an entrepreneur. You had to. My mother said, no matter how bad it gets in politics, politics is the business of freedom. So no matter how rough it gets and how nasty it gets, I always remember that politics is the business of freedom. Another truth that your founder said was that there's always more information out there. And George Carver Washington, who's really one of my heroes, you probably don't know much about him, but he was born in 1864, son of a slave family, and invented the idea of rotating crops, which is revolutionary coming from a small town and a farming town, that you rotate the crops to keep the nutrients in. He said this. He said that education and knowledge are the golden keys to freedom. It's not bad. In fact, I don't think y'all are in the tech business. I think you're in the freedom business. We'll talk more about that. Another truth that your founders say, that the need for information crosses all borders. Another truth. And I know that firsthand when we helped create, with Bill Clinton, the Clinton Global Initiative. I was at the White House the last night that Bill was president. He kept saying, don't leave, come down. So 2 in the morning, puts his arm and says, well, what do I do next? And I said, well, first of all, you can't stay here. We worked through that 3 or 4 hours. And I said, you know, Arkansas had you for 16 years, and America had you for 8, and now the world needs you. And he talks about this whole idea of information with no borders. He says this: we can't create a better future for America unless we help others create a better future for them. And at some point, we're all in this together. And he believes a lot because of what y'all are doing, that in the end, there will be no them. It'll only be us. I wrote that line. It's a good line, isn't it? There is no them. It's only us. This is one of my favorite truths. You can be serious and not wear a tie or a suit. What people don't know, I know why we had the economic meltdown. It wasn't AIG, it wasn't Fannie Mae, it wasn't Bush administration. It was white guys in ties. Now here's what, it's true. Harvard did a study, 20-year study, of people who wore ties 5 days a week and people who didn't, guys. They found out after 20 years that ties cut off 21% of the circulation of oxygen in your brain and 28% to your heart. I just made that shit up. No, I did. And people, no, I made it up. I just made it up. And people, I do this, and people start unlocking, taking their tie, but it's true. You can use it. Just make it up. People don't know. Well, I guess that's not in the spirit of transparency, but you can be serious and not wear a suit. Thank you. Next to the last one is so great. And it says something like, great isn't good enough. And Emerson, my favorite poet besides Frost, said it this way: what lies behind you and what lies in front of you is tiny compared with what lies inside you. And the idea that great isn't good enough is that not just your company, but if you want to really put that search engine that you have for everybody to your own self, what lies inside of you is what really will decide whether you're happy or not. And the final one is don't do evil. And that's really important when y'all have access to so much. And that's really kind of what I want to talk about today, if you don't mind, just for a little bit, about the power of purpose and the fact that you can make money by making a difference. And you can make money by doing no evil. And by the way, if we don't do that as a business community, you'll see what happens to business. So I'm hopeful, but if we all become purpose-inspired organizations full of purpose-inspired people, you can make a lot of money by making a difference, and you don't have to do evil. It's a fine line in your business, by the way, because sometimes you don't mean to do evil and it gets done. And then you just got to fess up when you mess up. So here's my journey. I went to the University of Texas. I met my 4 partners in 1970. School sucked, really. I wanted to go out there and do something else. And so it was the age of Marshall McLuhan. You don't know who he is, but, well, now you do because you have all those music rooms and stuff. But he used to say the medium's the message. Now, how relevant is that today when you think of Google? So we did multimedia shows, and our company was called Media 70. And I learned, we did multimedia shows, passed out brownies. You know what I'm talking about. So, and everybody paid it, and they paid us. It was awesome. So, let me cut that out. And I learned my first marketing lesson. Everything was great with Media 70 until January the 1st, 1971. Don't name your company after a year. Just don't do it. Brazil 66, whatever. So we graduated from college, I think. One of my partners sold with G and GSD&M sold ads at the Daily Texan. And so why don't we start an ad agency? I said, well, great. What is one? And it gives our clients a lot of confidence. So we decided to start an ad agency. I went down to the bank, had a brand new tie-dyed T-shirt. My ponytail was looking awesome. And I went into the loan officer's name was John Oliver, and I said, John, you don't know me, I don't know you, but you need to loan me $5,000 for my business. He was one of those guys with a tie, by the way. And he said, what's your business plan? I said, making money. What's yours? And he loaned us the money. And we paid it back a couple of weeks ago. But my first lesson, besides my mom and dad and my sister on purpose, was about 10 years ago. We went to a reception here in Austin. Guy walks up to me and he said, you see that older gentleman over there with a cane? Do you know who he is? And I went, yeah. He was my mentor in college, and you can tell I needed one pretty bad. His name was Robert Sneed. He said, you remember that loan that you got 25 years ago? I said, like it was yesterday. And he said, you know that he co-signed that note and never told you? Because he wanted you to believe that you got it on your own. That first little lesson, all you young people, if somebody helps you, you got to help somebody else. That's the way it works. And this world would be a lot better, just that chain reaction. Everybody has to have a helping hand every now and then. But you just store that back, and when somebody else needs it, you did it too, and the only thing you ask them to do is pass that forward. And then I met Herb Kelleher. I was 28 years old. He had 28 airplanes. He took a chance on us, and he taught me so much, how to drink and smoke on the job. I introduced him at the National Hall of Fame dinner the other night in New York. He was the first CEO to ever get elected to the Advertising Hall of Fame. It had no advertising. And I told him that I didn't know he drank until one day he came into a meeting sober. But I'll tell you what he taught me. And it's important for Google. Take the competition seriously, but not yourself. Take some yeast, lighten up. I don't think I have to tell you all that. But this is about having fun. Do no evil and have fun. And by the way, he was a fierce competitor. And then Sam Walton came into my life because he was in the rural areas. He loved what we were doing for Southwest. He picked up the phone and called me, "Oh, Roy, will you come to Bentonville?" Got on a plane, flew from here to Dallas, changed planes, flew to Fort Smith, then flew to Fayetteville, and then rented a car and went through Hogeye and Tonkytown and got to Bentonville. And I thought I'd gone to heaven because my dad was a salesperson. So I sit in a room, and there were 8 people, and Sam was sitting there, and he said, "So, oh, Roy, where's the rest of your staff?" And they were staring at me just like you are right now. And I said, "Well, there's an old Texas saying, one riot, one ranger. What problem you got?" Didn't even blink. I didn't blink. "So what's your problem?" So they hired me before I got out of the building. I tell you what, I traveled with Sam Walton, and he taught me one great lesson. Curiosity does not kill the cat. It kills the competition. Curiosity meter. He used to make us go into Kmart and find something better that they did than we did. It was hard. That was really hard. And he would always start his meetings. We'd get down on one knee, and he'd say, "I know what I know. I want to know what you know." And then he had a little yellow tablet. He didn't know about the computer thing, and he'd write it down. If you go to Bentonville in their little museum, all of his yellow tablets, he kept them all for 40 years. I know what I know. I want to know what you know. And then one of the great lessons I learned at the University of Texas, I actually did go to a class when I was a senior, wrote down shit. And so we had a final, and it was an essay, because multiple choices, you have to know stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I would always opt out. I would go to find a class that you could write bullshit, basically. So anyway, I went to the test, did the little blue book thing, wrote it down, aced it, turned it in. 2 weeks later, I get it back, and I got a C on it. You would know who I was talking about if I gave you the name of the professor. I went into the professor and I said, "You don't understand. There's no way I can make a C. I took your lecture down word for word." And he said, "Well, I guess I just gave a C lecture." I guess I just gave a C lecture. Here's the point. Just when you think you've got it knocked and you're top of the hill and you've aced it, there's going to be something that hits Google or hits you in your life. So you got to, as Akeem Olajuwon used to say in Houston, you got to stay humble and stay hungry. Mainly stay humble. Because tomorrow morning, you don't know what's going to happen. Stay humble, stay thankful, stay hungry. And then I had all these other mentors in my life. It was just amazing, from Charles Schwab to the Clintons, all this journey. But I'll tell you the quick story before we get into the real meat of this. I've been married 34 years. I promised my wife that if we ever had children, I'd never miss one of their birthdays. Now, you would say, well, of course you're not going to miss one of their birthdays, but we have no clients in Austin. It's sad that the people who know us the best don't hire us, but that's another thing I'm working through. But PGA Tour, DreamWorks, United States Air Force, so they don't call up and say, "Hey, Roy, can you come see me?" "Yes, sir, General. And by the way, is tomorrow one of your kids' birthdays?" So I did great with my 2 girls. And then my son turned 15, and I get the emergency call. So I'm in this, I'm doing this thing, and I realize that, by the way, I never wear a watch. It's another story. But I wasn't going to make it home for my son's birthday. And so I asked these two guys if they would do something for my son. So I'm going to play this video, if you would, and then I'm going to tell you why I played it. I got home at 2 till midnight. And Shay was 15, and he had a bunch of girlfriends over. I had just a little bit of envy, but not much. These two guys hadn't talked to each other in about 5 years. And that tsunami hit 2,000 miles away. Bill had just had quadruple bypass surgery. And we went to Little Rock, Arkansas. And these two people put purpose above politics. And they put purpose above pettiness. And we raised $2 billion in 5 days. American people need to see more of this. We think we're in the political business. We're not. We're in the purpose business. America's got to get back to its purpose. And if the politicians need to understand they're not in the re-election business anymore, they have to be in the make a difference business. So when Katrina hit, I got them together again. And they formed that fund for Katrina. When Ike hit Houston, President Bush called Bill Clinton. We filmed them. When Haiti, a horrible earthquake, and I just got back from Haiti, the earthquake hit, I got W and Clinton together. That was an interesting shoot. I feel like I'm like the frigging eHarmony, you know, for politicians. But the truth is, I know that politics has to go on, but sooner or later you have to put the purpose of this country ahead of the politics of a party. And the American people are waiting for this. By the way, when I was filming the first one, Bill Clinton looked at me and he on the tsunami, and he said, "You know, the animals left before the tsunami hit. They left. The American people have left. And we're sitting there going, who's going to step up and tell us where we should go fighting? For what are we fighting for? Instead of fighting in a democracy, by the way, if you don't have something to fight for, you fight against each other. So I play that because that's purpose at work. So we're going to cover some quick ground. Talk about the economy just for a little bit. I want to talk about what purpose is, why do you need it, what does it look like, sound like, and why Robert Frost is right. Quickly. We're not in a recession. We're not in a depression. We're in a generational winter. There's a book called The Fourth Turning by Neil Howe and Bill Strauss. They're the ones who wrote the Generations book. They're the ones who named the millennials. I don't know if you like them or not, but they're generational experts. And the premise of the book, documented, is that every generation goes through a spring, summer, fall, and winter. The last winter America had was World War II and the Great Depression. That was my parents' winter. The winter before that was the Civil War. The winter before that was the American Revolution. And they've tracked it all throughout Europe. So we're in an economic winter. In fact, they wrote the book, The Fourth Turning, in 1998, and they predicted our winter would hit in 2008. Let me repeat what I just said. They wrote it in 1998, and they predicted our winter would hit in 2008. I know y'all haven't suffered through the winter like a lot of other organizations. Good job. And every other winter we've had, I said it before, the American people knew what we were fighting for. In World War II, it was freedom itself. In the Civil War, which is the worst war we were ever in, we were fighting to see whether or not we had the courage to keep this thing together. And the American Revolution, we were fighting to create the birth of a new democracy. The reason we're in a stalemate right now is that we don't know what we're fighting for. And it's not cap and trade, and it's not fighting for health care, and it's not carrying, those are tactics. If you hear from Washington, here's the solutions. Either spend and stimulate or cut and save. Those are the solutions. You know what we have to do? We have to create our way out of this business. Between 1985 and 2005, America created 41 million jobs. 85 to 2005. 92% with companies less than 5 years old. The miracle of America is entrepreneurship. So in this winter, here's what happened. Before the winter, the world economy was propped up by the American consumer spending more than we had on things we didn't need made someplace else. Let me go through again. The whole world economy was based upon the American consumer spending more than we had on things we didn't need made someplace else. We bought so much stuff, we had to get off-site storage to go visit it. We were spending, by the way, I have duct tape on my wallet. That's another story. But we were spending $144 a day. That's not mortgage. That's discretionary income. And when the winter hit, it went down to $44. Let's see. And outside of this spending right now on the Christmas holidays, it's averaging now $63. So from 144 to 63. The American people have said, I think I'm not going to do more with less. I think I'm going to do better with less. Here's the good news for Google. If a business is not in the business of improving people's lives, they're not going to be in business. And they're going to find out. That's why my book, bestseller. It's not what you sell, it's what you stand for. Because everybody's selling the same kind of stuff. And what you stand for is just as important. So if you're in the life improvement business, and with your folks here in the enterprise group, I don't think you're in the consulting business. I don't think you're in the selling of high-tech stuff. I think you're in the business to improve your client's life so they can improve the life of their business, so they can improve the life of their employees. And whether it's, Earth Builder or Earth Pro or that mapping thing that, what is it, you can find where crime is and shit, it's unbelievable. No, I was blown away. I don't want my address on your Google map. But anyway, what you're doing every day is empowering people to be free and do good things for their company. And if you're in the offers, anybody from the offers segment? Okay. Two things real quick. I know you know this, but and we don't see this much in Austin, but the consumers are in deep, deep trouble. If you do not get your offers out to them, you're cheating them out of the opportunity of living a good life for less. It's not just selling coupons and discounts. You're selling what counts. Is that right? And by the way, what you're doing to help small businesses, it is the miracle of America. We've got to have a rebirth. So all the time when you're walking and talking about small businesses and mom and pops, we need to create 1 million new businesses a year in America to get this country going again. 1 million. And all of them need mentors. So I'm going to do a TV show. I'm selling it right now called Dream It, Build It. I'll be fabulous. I'm the host. And we go find a dreamer. Google ought to do this. Shit, wait, I'll put it on you. Seriously, I've got Howard Schultz. I've got Herb Kelleher. I've got the woman who built the company Build-A-Bear. I've got Chris Gardner, who was the original guy in The Pursuit of Happiness. I have every mentor already lined up. And we're going to go out and find dreamers in every category. I want to open a restaurant. I want to be a farmer. And we're going to have the American people vote on it. Not like you have to sing and shit. It's going to be literally, another little, whatever. And then at the end, so I introduce the dreamer. I'm partnered with them with a mentor. And at the end of the show, just like that Robert Sneed who lent me the $5,000, everybody who's built a business had somebody help them. And so at that moment in time, they're going to have a pass-it-forward moment to that dreamer. And the only requirement is the dreamer has to report in every month on our website, dreamitbuildit.biz, how they're doing. Every night, when the call to action is, there are 40 million people in America, by the way. And I didn't make this up like the Harvard stuff. There are 40 million people, but you don't know the difference, so what the hell. There's 40 million people in this country who basically go home at night and dream about opening up their own business. I saw some of you looking at yourself. Watch out, they might leave them. But anyway, I need to get Google involved with this because this is going to be a movement. that literally saves the republic. And we represent AARP, although I'm not a member. And we're going to launch a campaign next year called Relaunch Your Life. People, the young and young at heart. So what you're doing with offers and what you're doing with enterprise, all of you can do the big stuff at some point too. I know you do this. Make sure you might pick 5 businesses a year in Austin, Texas, and help them grow. You might find dreamers of your own and pick them. Let them come up here and find out. I do a Don't Do Mild award with the Rise Group, and I give part of the proceeds of Roritos to would-be entrepreneurs. But this is something I know y'all are involved with, but the more you can be involved with rebirthing and reigniting the American dream, that'll keep you humble. We got to stand tall for small. So, what is purpose? Aristotle said it the best. And by the way, I'm talking to you about your own life too, if you don't mind. Not just about Google. Aristotle said purpose is where your talent and the needs of the world intersect. Therein lies your vocation. Where your talents and the needs of the world intersect, therein lies your purpose. You ever heard the Peter's Principle? People get burned out. When I was in the 8th grade, I turned in a paper on Emerson, and I had 29 misspelled words, and I got a C. C's were not acceptable in my household. The next year, we were doing Emerson again with another teacher, and I told my mom, I'm not turning this paper in. I'm scared to death. She said, no, go ahead. I had 32 misspelled words and got an A+. Thank you. And so I brought both the papers home, and I said, I don't get this. And my mom said, you can't spell. Hire one. Here was the point, but she said, you can write your ass off. Purpose is about not spending your life trying to become average at what you're bad at. Purpose is spending your life becoming great at what you're good at. I always tell my kids, and they're all doing it, you can make a living doing what you love to do. I'm not saying you're going to get rich, but there's a lot of definitions of rich. You can make a living doing what you love to do. So purpose is that definitive statement of the difference you're trying to make in the world. We've been blessed with the Purpose Institute, which is our separate company from GSD and AmNow, but we did it all the way in our business. Southwest Airlines' purpose, we're not in the airline business. Our purpose is real simple. We give people the freedom to fly. By the way, y'all give people the freedom to thrive. I think that's copyrightable. Cut that out. You got to pay me for this shit. I'm not giving it away, okay? And y'all have money. Fine. Southwest Airlines' purpose, we give people the freedom to fly. Walmart, our purpose is to save people money. By the way, I always say when we're at our best, because sometimes you're not at your best as a company. We save people money so they can live better. United States Air Force, by the way, thank them. When we're at our best, we protect you from attacks, from airspace and cyberspace. And maybe you can work, I'm sure you do, with the airport. John Mackey and Whole Foods, our purpose, when we're at our best, we nourish the body and the mind and the soul and the community and the planet. At Disney, when we're at our best, we use our imagination to bring happiness to millions. Apple, when we're at our best, we create beautiful things for the mind that enhances humankind. When I talk about Google, all this a little bit, it's not exactly your words. Here's what I say. People go crazy. You can use it if you want to. I said Google's purpose is, when they're at their best, they organize all the information that ever was and ever will be and make it accessible and useful to all people for all time. That's called a BHAG. And people go, God, I want to do that. I said, don't. They're already doing it. But in a sense, that's what you do. You organize all the information that ever was, ever will be, and make it useful and accessible to all people for all time. You democratize knowledge every day. At GE Aviation, I was talking to 7,000 scientists. They were really inspired by me. But finally, about half through the deal, I said, y'all aren't paying attention, and it's either my fault or yours. So I've got the mic, and I'm saying it's yours. So there. I did. It's fun. And because I don't give a shit. So I said, do you know what your founders said about your company? You know what your founders said about GE? And by the way, it wasn't Jack Welch. They were, really? There's a guy named Thomas Edison. And you know what he said? I never perfect an invention that I don't think about the impact on the greater good. So we went through this whole purpose project with GE Aviation, people who build the jet engines. At the end, by the way, you can't make up purpose. It's got to be authentic. In the end, we presented it to all the staff, what we found out. And here's their purpose. We don't build jet engines. We invent the future of flight that lifts people up and brings them home safely. That company's now on fire. Well, I don't like to use that word with jet engines. I don't even know why I said that, but it is so excited about the fact that we're not just in the jet engine business. We invent the future of flight. So every day that you wake up, go back and look at your statement about that user and organizing all the information there ever will be and making it accessible and available and useful to all people for all time. And in a sense, what you do, you give them the freedom to thrive. That's what you do. That's a pretty good business to be in. So why do you need it? It drives every decision. It helps you on don't do evil. With Southwest Airlines, just put up a little slide here. Or you can go anywhere if you want to. Anyway, just kidding. Southwest Airlines, there was two monkeys at a bar. And so, okay, here's the story. 10 months ago, they pay me to do this shit. This is not hard. No, it really isn't. But I make it really hard, you know, and I do whatever. So consultants walk in, and they said, you are losing and leaving $350 million on the table not charging for bags. Now, American Airlines just went bankrupt today. So, and you know why they go bankrupt? So they can keep their costs down, so they can compete with us. We've never been You know that Southwest Airlines is the most unionized airline in America? Did you know that? We've never had a strike. We've never had a furlough. We've never had a quarter we hadn't made money. And we haven't gone bankrupt, so we can get our costs down on the backs of our vendors. I'm not pissed off about it. But anyway, here's the point. They said, you're leaving $350 million. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's charging for bags. So another consultant walked in. I said, do whatever you want. You charge for bags. You violate the purpose of the company. Your call. It's that simple. We're in the business to give people the freedom to fly. We do it by keeping our costs down so we can keep our fares down, so we can give people the freedom to fly. We see a time where everyone can go and see and do things they only dreamed of. So you charge for bags. There are going to be a lot of people who can't go to Disney. It's your call. Hurt the little children. So Gary Kelly stood up and said, we're not going to charge for bags. You go find the money. So we launched this campaign. I'll play the commercial and I'll tell you what happened. About 3 months ago, the CFO comes into the meeting and sits down with everyone, and he said, so, excuse me? Oh, did you see King's Speech? One of the greatest movies ever. I'm serious. He said, I was wrong. Oh, what'd you say? You were wrong. I was wrong. In 12 months, we generated $1.2 billion in sales charging for free. Because we stood firm on our purpose. And you know what happens when you stand firm on your purpose? Consumers can smell it. I want to hang around you guys. There are two types of companies. There are vinegar companies and there are honey companies. Some you just don't want to be around. By the way, there's two kinds of people. They're takers and they're givers. I like givers. I like honey. A great brand is always a honey brand. that people say, I want to hang out with you because I agree with what you stand for. I want to hang out with you instead of, oh God, I'll play like you're on the phone. He's coming. I want to hang out with you because I like what you stand for. So, what does purpose look like? I'm going to play 3 or 4 spots, and these are pro bono, that we tithe a lot of our time at our agency to try to do the right thing. The first spot, this is what purpose looks like, by the way, but the first spot, I want to tell just a little bit of story. We were in Annapolis when 9/11 happened. We had 2 clients involved, the United States Air Force, Southwest Airlines. And by the way, we just got in the Air Force, and their theme line was "Nobody Comes Close." Oops. They bombed the Pentagon. So we were going home, driving home, trying to get home, and I kept saying, what can we do? What can we do? So I called every director in America and said, I want you all to go out and film people of every race, every religion, every color, saying one thing: I'm an American. Because I was worried in the process of striking back our enemies, we might strike one of our own because they look different. So this first spot aired more times than any other PSA in history. And then it just went again on the 10th anniversary. So this is what purpose looks like. Purpose doesn't have to be heavy. You just have to have one. 83% of all responders are trained at community colleges, and we're about to cut community colleges' budget in half around this country. So, by the way, if you can learn to drink coffee without a cigarette, you can learn to do anything. We have a whole series of them. You got to smoke. But I want to play 4 other spots. These are like paying clients. And then and everyone that we represent has a purpose beyond making money, or we don't represent them. They might not know it, but we help them understand what their core purpose is. So let's just play these spots. The real thrill when you have purpose on your side is that you get people to smile or laugh or think or cry and not just sit there. Because if it just sits there, that spot or whatever runs on any medium, if it just sits there and doesn't activate somebody's emotion, it's not worth it. Real quick story, and then we're going to wrap up pretty soon. I get a call from one of my colleagues from Walmart who was a pharmacist, and he ended up being head of merchandise worldwide for the largest company in the world. And he retired about 3 years ago, and he's young, but he said he needed to have tractor time. And so John Deere's our client. So anyway, so he called me up and he said, I want to repay a favor that you gave me when I was at Walmart. And I said, well, I didn't do anything. He said, no, I used to think in black and white, and you helped me think in color. So I'm going to send you a video because this is what purpose sounds like. I know what it looks like. I want to teach you what it sounds like. And when you get done hearing this video, I want you to call me the next morning, and I'll tell you why this is what purpose sounds like. So I'm going to play this, and then I'll tell you what he said. So I called him up the next day. By the way, I watch that every morning. But and I said, so, it's awesome, but tell me why this is what purpose sounds like. And he said, well, first of all, everybody's got to know the words to the song. Secondly, you got to listen to one another. Third, you got to step up when it's your turn. Fourth, it sounds awesome when you sing together. And fifth, it helps to have a good song to sing. So if you work in an organization that has a good song to sing, by the way, America has a good song to sing. We just don't know the words to the song anymore. And we don't listen to one another anymore. And we don't step up when it's our turn anymore. And that's got to change. that you work for an awesome company. You got to know the words to the song. You got to listen to one another. You got to step up with your turn. And by the way, when you sing together, it's pretty awesome. You guys have a good song to sing. And final, why Robert Foster's right. You thought I'd forget that one. But I was in New York about 3 years ago, and I was late at night, and I was flipping through in there, and flipping through the channels, and kept going to that channel company that Nancy Grace, that everybody's bad. Every aunt kills their nephew. Every dog kills their priest. Every whatever. And I was just going. I went, oh my God. And I said, I remember what that great philosopher, French philosopher, said: America will cease to be great if we cease to be good. So this is not the America I know. So I decided, and you'll get the logic, to walk across America, where you know. So it's hard. Yeah, you had the same look that when I told my wife, and she said whatever. So I got on Google Maps, my assistant, and I started in Connan, New Hampshire, and walked through 7 states on my first leg with a backpack and 2 American flags. And I had a pedometer that beeped every mile. And the theory was, and it worked out, that I was going to take a picture of something good every mile. And I was run off the road. I was in mud. But even though when it beeped, I had to find something good to take a picture of. And this is why Robert Foster's right. There are 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood in life. And sorry, I can't travel both and be one traveler. I didn't know what that meant when my mom used to read it to me. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I cannot travel both and be one traveler. So I found on this little first leg of the journey, and thank you, Google Maps, that you become what you look for in life. If you look for enemies, you'll find them. If you look for hate, it'll live in your heart. If you look for gossip, it'll consume you. And if you look for fear, it'll follow you. But on that other road, if you look for friends, you'll be befriended. And if you look for love, it'll lift you up. And if you look for the truth, it'll set you free. And if you look for hope, it'll take you to higher ground. That's the road I'm on. And I wish I'd have known that road a long, long time ago, but instinctively I think I've been on that road all along. So you look for friends, and you look for love, and you look for the truth, and you look for hope. And in the process, in business, you'll make money, but you'll make a difference, and just perhaps you'll make a little bit of history. It's not a bad way to live your life in business. So I thank you for inviting me, Patrick, and thank you for being in Austin. I wish you a purpose-inspired life. And hook 'em.